All right, bear with us. We have two more speeches or sets of remarks before we then open it up to you all and the opening statements. Next, I'm happy to introduce a journalist who's exiled from Turkey to share his story. His name is Abdülhamit Bilici. Please welcome him.
Good afternoon. I'm an exiled journalist living in the United States for the last 6 years. Before that, I was the editor-in-chief of the largest Turkish newspaper called Zaman, which is not existing now. It has been shut down, and even our archives are deleted. So as a columnist, as a journalist, as a reporter, now I can't find those stories or articles that I wrote for last 30 years. So sometimes it is not easy to understand my story, so I give an example. Think that the Le Monde, which is the top newspaper of France, has been shut down, and its editor had to leave France. Or Washington Post has been shut down, and its editor had to leave to another country. This is me. So my newspaper was selling over 1 million, and it was a big platform for different opinions, different sectors, segments of society. So I have a very short time. Usually, to tell my story takes more than 1 hour, but now I have a couple of minutes, so I'll try to use my time in an efficient way. So I guess that my being in front of you here, telling my story tells a lot of things about the level of persecution going on in Turkey, unfortunately, which was a rising model of Muslim democracy until 6-7 years ago, and now it became an important case that how democracies can be toppled in a very short time that you can't imagine. So democracies are fragile. So yes, the previous speakers were speaking about the practices in China, or in Russia, or some other authoritarian countries, but I'm talking my story from a NATO member country. So that tells a lot, which means we are not secure even if we live in democracies. So I assume that that audience is very knowledgeable about the scope of persecution. So the persecution in my native country is not limited to my newspaper and myself. In last 6-7 years, more than 200 critical media outlets has been shut down. Turkey became the worst jailer of journalists. Still, there are my colleagues. My chief designer, who was designing my newspaper, is in jail for 6 years. He had life imprisonment sentence. And now the opposition party leader is in jail while I am speaking here. And the 2 members of the Supreme Court and many judges in jail. If you think that I am exaggerating, go and check Human Rights Watch reports or Amnesty reports or any United Nations report about these issues. Since I assume and I know that this audience is very aware of the problems in depth, I don't like to go in detail. So I refer you to those reports, including the United States State Department report detailing all the persecution. So my case is in the intersection of religious persecution and the media persecution, or the persecution against journalists. Why? Because my newspaper was affiliated with the Hizmet movement, Gülen movement. This is one side of my persecution. The second part is I'm a critical journalist. We were writing, and our crime was to write about corruption, to write about the authoritarian policies of the government. We had nothing criminal. But journalism became a criminal act, unfortunately. So instead of elaborating those cases, that the torture became widespread, even pregnant women. Now there are many pregnant women in jail. They are giving birth to their babies in such a hard situation. But I like to share my life lessons. 7 lessons, if I can, in a very summarized way. So one is, I know that I'm listening a lot of the first one I am talking. There are persecutions of different types on the basis of gender, ethnicity, religion, etc. And we are a summit of that persecutions. But the first alarm is coming by the persecution of media. So when you see that a journalist is oppressed, intimidated, muzzled, even if you're not a journalist, you should see that as a sign that your door will be knocked. And this is exactly happened. When in 2013, our press cards were cancelled by government, the opposition party, the Kurdish party leader, I guess did not think that in 3 years' time he will be in jail. And this is what happened. So this is the first sign. You need to watch out any muzzling effort towards media. The second very key thing is independence of judiciary. So when you think that politicians are appointing judges to their positions, to the courts, with their political affiliations, or the judges deciding on the basis of politics, then you need to be alarmed. Why? Because my newspaper was shut down by a court decision. A judge decided that this newspaper should be shut down. But is this a judge? Is this a court? So this is very, very important. The third thing that I learned as my life lessons is the corruption. Corruption at high levels is very critical problem, very important problem. Why? Because these guys at political level have huge power, which are getting, this power is transferred to them by you, by us. Our tax money, our votes makes them powerful. But when they are corrupted, they need to protect themselves. And what they do to protect themselves? They destroy judiciary, they destroy media, they destroy democracy. That is the result. So when there is corruption at political level, even if it's big, small, doesn't matter, we need to be watching out. Fourth lesson that I learned, never give priority to your social, ideological, ethnic, religious, narrow agenda at the sake of basic principles of democracy. So you may think that if I gain a judgeship in a high court, short term you think that you will win, but in the mid and long term you will lose. So your narrow agenda is never more important than basic principle of democracy. You should never accept a trade-off between the two. I don't say that be shy about your narrow agenda. It's important, but do not accept any trade-off. That's very important for me. And the fifth lesson that I learned, being civilian doesn't make a person, a political leader, democratic. We saw that. In Turkey, we had 5 military interventions, and we thought that if we make a civilian powerful, we will get rid of these bad practices. And now we saw that a very popularly elected civilian could turn into an oppressor, a dictator. So what we need to do? We need to First of all, never give all your trust to any political party, any leader, but watch out if check and balance system is working or not. There may be civilian or military is not an important thing. You may have, in American history, there is Eisenhower, who had a military background, but became a nice president, a democratic president. So this is important. Watch out if the check and balance system is working or not. Because when this guy gets out of control, you need someone to stop it. And the sixth principle, life principle I learned, no one person or no one group can protect itself against oppression of a powerful state. All states are powerful, unbelievably powerful. When they, for instance, my state now labels me as a terrorist. When they labeled me that way, all state mechanism starts working against me. They raided my home, they confiscated my belongings, and there is an arrest warrant against me. I can't go back to my country now, although I love it. I have no problem with my people, with my country. So what is the lesson we need to learn? A journalist cannot defend freedom of expression or freedom of religion. A church cannot protect it. So the churches, synagogues, mosques, all journalists, political parties, trade unions can defend democracy together. Otherwise, you have no chance, because I saw that. We tried all our best, but we were not able to defend ourselves. So you see, I lost my newspaper, I make my career, and I am here. That's very important. And last but not least, watch out, use of religion for political purposes. This is a nice platform to address this, I guess. I am a pious person, I'm a Muslim. And I respect all faiths and all religions, but even if the religion or sect promoted is yours, do not get proud of that. Now in Turkey, the current government is claiming that they are the best Muslims in the world. You know what happened? The number of atheists and deists are at record level. They are not serving to the purpose of Islam. With their corruption, with their authoritarianism, with their oppression, people hate. People hate them, and then people hate whatever they represent. Is this service to their faith? So watch out. Use of not only religion, any primordial value in the name of politics. Gender, ethnicity, sector, your sect, faith, whatever. These should be beyond political struggle and fights. So, I suggest, I know that this is very wonderful happening, very, very important summit, very timely, and I suggest maybe to have a summit that brings together people like myself. I turn my side, but I don't like an invitation next time. But people who went through that persecution can come together and share their experiences in order to prevent some other countries to lose whatever rights they have. Because preserving rights, justice is easier than to revive it. So it's important to learn those lessons wherever they are, wherever it is possible. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope I shared my story in a short time. Thank you.